Startling. According to Kirk Frost, Rasheeda stole $500 million while visiting Puerto Rico. The opulent Puerto Rican estate was meant to be Kirk Frost's haven from the never-ending turmoil of Atlanta, complete with sun, sand, and quiet. Rather, it served as the setting for the ultimate betrayal. Rasheeda was purportedly clearing out everything they had created together while Kirk was smiling with pals and posting carefree stories thousands of miles away. Not a tiny withdrawal. Not a secret account here or there. The unimaginable is being whispered by people close to the pair. Rasheeda left with an astounding $500 million in assets, cash, and company holdings. The explosion was nuclear when Kirk's private flight landed and he saw the destruction. According to insiders, he stormed inside his Atlanta estate and faced his decades-long wife, his voice shaking with wrath. "You stole everything. $500 million, Rasheeda? I trusted you with our entire existence while I was away." Their kids allegedly froze in disbelief as the words reverberated through the hallways. Rasheeda refused to give up. She retaliated with her own charges, saying that Kirk had been living a double life and transferring money covertly for years, leaving her with no choice except to defend what was rightfully hers. Shattered glass, cries, tears. In a matter of minutes, the family home became a battlefield. The devastation spread quickly and emotions were high. The nearest circle to them is divided in half. After years of Kirk's alleged transgressions and dubious business practices, several acquaintances claim Rasheeda finally lost it. Others see her conduct as unacceptable, a planned theft that might ruin the empire they built in front of the cameras over the course of a lifetime. Online, fans are going crazy in overwhelming timelines with incredulity. 500 million? That's a takeover, not a divorce. One post went viral. The entire hip-hop community is holding its breath, hashtags are trending, and sides are being selected. The true gut-punch twist, though? According to insiders, Rasheeda wasn't acting alone. There are rumors circulating about covert meetings, offshore transfers, and influential individuals connected to the lost cash. Was it survival, retaliation, or something far riskier? Not only did Kirk's return from Puerto Rico reveal a lost fortune, but it also unlocked a treasure trove of falsehoods, betrayals, and unanswered questions that had the potential to destroy their marriage and legacy in a single, devastating strike. Nobody is certain who will escape the fallout when the Frost empire collapses. The ground beneath Kirk Frost's feet seemed to collapse as soon as he returned to his ATL mansion following what was supposed to be a tranquil vacation in Puerto Rico. He learned the devastating truth that Rasheeda had allegedly emptied their joint accounts and business holdings of an astounding $500 million. The ensuing conflict was nothing short of explosive. Kirk Frost's voice was a mixture of incredulity, rage, and betrayal as he growled and demanded answers at the top of his lungs. "Rasheeda, how could you do this to me? After everything we've been through together and the years we've spent creating this empire," he yelled. "You don't stab me in the back like this until I'm thousands of miles away in Puerto Rico. You have no idea what I have been dealing with while you were off in Puerto Rico living your best life," Rasheeda shot back, her eyes burning with her own rage. "Do you really believe that I was unaware of the covert meetings? And the cash you were transferring without informing me? You were prepared to leave us with nothing, so I took the necessary steps to ensure the safety of our family." Their children, who had been upstairs, heard the raised voices and rushed down the stairs, their faces pale with fear and confusion as they saw their parents in the middle of what appeared to be the end of their world. The words cut deep, and Kirk Frost felt the room spinning as he realized the full extent of what had happened. "Please don't argue, Mom and Dad." With tears in her eyes, their eldest daughter begged. "We're afraid about this." However, the adults were too engrossed in the situation to pay attention right away. As the dispute intensified, Kirk Frost reached for his phone and started calling his attorney, telling him to come over right away because his wife had stolen $500 million from him. The attorney on the other end attempted to calm him down, but at that point, Kirk Frost was beyond logic. The personal stakes were higher than ever because not only was their fortune at stake, but also their family unit and the public image they had painstakingly built over years of Reality 1 television fame. He paced the floor like a caged animal while Rasheeda continued to defend her actions, claiming that she had only taken action after learning of his plans to divorce her and cut her out of the businesses they had built side by side. Many years. Emotions were running high as the couple continued to hurl accusations at each other, with Kirk Frost claiming that Rasheeda had been plotting this for months and Rasheeda insisting that she had been forced into a corner by his secretive behavior and alleged infidelity that had plagued their relationship. Almost immediately, friends and family became aware of the drama as phones began ringing with worried calls from people who had been close to them for years. One longtime friend called Rasheeda asking if the rumors were true and if she had actually taken such a large sum. The children were caught in the crossfire, both literally and figuratively, as they attempted to comprehend the startling treachery that was taking place in front of them. The family was split even at this early stage, with some relatives already taking sides and calling Rasheeda a hero for standing up for herself, while others labeled her actions as unforgivable theft that could destroy everything the Frost name stood for outside the walls of the mansion. The news was starting to leak onto social media as fans who had followed their journey for so long expressed their shock and disbelief, with many saying they never saw this coming and others Kirk felt his world collapsing around him, not only because of the missing $500 but also because the woman he had loved and trusted for decades had seemingly turned against him in the most brutal way possible. He replayed every conversation they had before he left Puerto Rico in an attempt to find hints that he had missed signs of her planning something this massive, but nothing prepared him for the reality of the emptied accounts and the confrontation that followed. The blogs were already picking up the story and spinning their own versions of events, adding fuel to the fire that was quickly consuming the couple's private life. As more information about how Rasheeda allegedly used her access to their financial systems to initiate the transfers while Kirk was preoccupied with his trip came to light, the argument continued for what seemed like hours, with both sides refusing to back down and the tension in the room becoming nearly intolerable. Rasheeda, on the other hand, felt a mixture of heartbreak and vindication because she knew that this moment might have irreversibly damaged the bond they once shared. The first significant turn of events occurred when Rasheeda pulled out her phone and showed him a number of messages and documents that she claimed proved Kirk had been in talks with lawyers about filing for divorce and restructuring their assets in a way that would have left her and the children with far less than they deserved. This revelation hit Kirk like a ton of bricks, and he vehemently denied it, claiming that those were only preliminary discussions and that she had twisted the facts to justify her own actions. However, the damage was done, and the already tenuous trust broke. With rising shouts, tears, and accusations flying back and forth, the scene was one of sheer chaos and emotional anguish, and the children watched in terror as their mother stood firm in her choice and their father's face plummeted. There was no indication of a resolution in sight. After learning about the altercation, friends started to voice their opinions. Some advised Kirk Frost to maintain composure and deal with it through the appropriate legal channels, while others told Rasheeda that she had overreached herself and that there must be another way to settle their differences without ruining the family. The stakes had never been higher for this power couple, and the entire hip-hop community was about to be gripped by the shocking details of what actually happened during that fateful trip to Puerto Rico and the explosive aftermath that followed as more calls came in from worried family members. The drama was just getting started, and as the night went on, more people became involved in the unfolding saga with the possibility of even bigger revelations looming on the horizon that could change everything they thought they knew about each other and their marriage. The children were eventually taken upstairs by a family friend who had rushed over upon hearing the news, but even from their rooms they could hear the muffled sounds of their parents continuing to argue, and it broke their hearts to see the people they loved most tearing each other apart over money and trust issues that seemed impossible to repair. However, Kirk Frost's side of the family was quick to label the act as a cold, calculated move that showed no regard for the years of partnership they had shared. In addition to stealing the $500 million, Kirk Frost claimed that Rasheeda may have had assistance from an outsider, a new business partner, or even a close friend who had helped her carry out the transfers covertly. Rasheeda denied having any accomplices and maintained that she had handled their finances for years on her own while he was preoccupied with other matters. The emotional tensions were evident as Kirk Frost expressed feelings of intense hurt and shock that the woman he had built an empire with could turn on him so abruptly. The back and forth persisted late into the night, with neither side willing to make concessions or even take a breath. In addition, Rasheeda expressed her own suffering from years of feeling undervalued and suspicious of his frequent travels. The personal stakes went beyond money because their reality TV careers were at stake, with producers likely to profit from the drama and possibly dropping storylines if the situation became too toxic for the show. As the first night of the confrontation came to an end, the fans were already taking sides on social media, with some urging Rasheeda to return the money and others applauding her for finally taking charge of her life and finances. The situation was a powder keg ready to explode even further, but the questions and accusations were far from over. The mansion where Kirk Frost and Rasheeda had spent the night in separate rooms following their violent altercation was illuminated by an unsettling light as the sun rose over at Lanete. The lawyers arrived early, their stern faces and briefcases full of paperwork, prepared to sort through the mess of emptied accounts and alleged betrayal. While Kirk Frost paced the kitchen, demanding immediate action to freeze any remaining assets and look into how Rasheeda had moved $500 million without setting off any alerts while he was in Puerto Rico, Rasheeda sat composedly in the living room with her own legal team, outlining her side of the story and insisting that the transfers were required to shield the family from Kirk Frost's purported plans to divorce her and leave them with nothing. Emotions ran high once more as Kirk Frost accused Rasheeda of working with someone on the inside, possibly their longtime accountant who had abruptly stopped talking. The tension was evident as the two sides glared at each other across the table and the kids watched from the stairs, too scared to come down but too curious to look away. When the accountant was contacted, he later stated that he had only followed Rasheeda's instructions because she had complete control over the accounts while Kirk Frost was away. This revelation added even more shock to the already chaotic situation, and fans on the internet were quick to speculate as to who else might be involved in what they were calling the biggest heist in hip-hop history. The family was split when Rasheeda's mother showed up at the mansion without warning and took her daughter aside right away, claiming that Rasheeda had every right to get the money for her and the grandchildren because Kirk Frost had always been controlling. Kirk's brother called from out of town, expressing his outrage and offering to fly in to support his sibling through what he described as the ultimate betrayal. When one of the children admitted to seeing Rasheeda on the computer late at night during the trip to Puerto Rico, printing documents and making phone calls in a hushed voice, it became a major point of contention because Kirkhouse believed it proved premeditation, while Rasheeda claimed it showed she was acting out of necessity and fear for their future. Another turn of events occurred when Kirkhouse's phone lit up with a message from a mutual friend in the industry alerting him to the fact that the story was going viral and that some blogs were already portraying Rasheeda as a victim of years of alleged abuse, while others called her a gold digger who had finally shown her true colors. As fans argued over every detail and shared their own theories about what actually transpired behind closed doors in the Atlanta mansion, hashtags like #MillionHash became popular. In response, Kirkus recorded a brief video statement refuting the allegations of covert divorce plans and promising to investigate the missing $500 million. However, Rasheeda retaliated by releasing her own statement through her attorneys, asserting that all steps were taken to protect the family empire built on love and hard work. The back-and-forth statements only served to fuel the fire and make the situation more public than before, with producers from their reality show contacting both Pa. While Kirk Frost told a close friend that he felt totally taken aback and that the trip to Puerto Rico was intended to give him time to reflect on their marriage, not to give Rasheeda the chance to empty their accounts. The emotional tensions increased when Rasheeda sobbed during a private moment with her mother, acknowledging that although she thought she did the right thing, she never wanted it to come to this level of destruction for the family she loved. As the day went on, more information leaked out, including rumors that some of the $500 million had been transferred to offshore accounts in Rasheeda's name alone, making it more difficult for Kirk Frost to recover the funds. The friend advised him to remain composed and let the lawyers handle everything, but Kirk Frost was fighting the urge to confront Rasheeda once more and demand a complete accounting of every dollar that had been moved. This new information quickly infuriated Kirk Frost, who threatened to use federal authorities to track down the money if needed. The threat lingered in the air, and Rasheeda's legal team cautioned that doing so might reveal even more personal information about their marriage and finances to the public. A private investigator hired by Kirk Frost found that part of the missing money had been routed through a shell company connected to one of Rasheeda's closest friends from the industry, a woman who had been photographed with her at several events during the Puerto Rico trip. The drama showed no signs of slowing down as night fell again, and the lawyers continued to negotiate late into the evening with neither side willing to give an inch. The children were caught in the middle of a battle that threatened to destroy everything they had ever known. Confronted Rasheeda with the fresh evidence and demanded to know if her friend had assisted her in carrying out the transfers and whether their relationship went beyond appearances. Rasheeda denied any romantic involvement but acknowledged that her friend had given her advice on asset protection after learning of Kirk Frost's purported divorce talks. Kirk Frost's feelings of betrayal were only heightened by this admission, and he accused her of plotting with outsiders to rob him while he was away, entrusting her with their empire. The argument resurfaced with even more venom as Rasheeda retorted that she had turned to her friend because she had no one else to trust after years of Kirk Frost's secretive behavior and rumored flings. As the family continued to shatter under the weight of accusations, lies, and the very real threat of losing everything they had built together, the children's emotions were at an all-time high. One of them ran to their room in tears while the other stayed to try to mediate, only to be told by both parents that this was adult business and they should stay out of it. Friends in the hip-hop community began taking sides publicly, with some posting messages of support for Rasheeda and calling her brave for standing up for herself, while others expressed sympathy for Kirk Frost and urged him to fight for what was rightfully his. The online debate grew vicious, with fans flooding comment sections and sharing edited clips from old episodes of their reality show highlighting moments that now seemed to foreshadow this massive betrayal. The producers of the show were in a frenzy, trying to decide whether to incorporate the real-life drama into the next season or to distance themselves from the scandal to protect their brand. The personal stakes for Kirk Frost and Rasheeda had never been higher, as their businesses, their family, and their public images all hung in the balance, with no end to the chaos in sight. The lawyers worked through the night trying to negotiate a temporary truce, but every new revelation only made compromise seem more impossible. The questions and accusations from the first night had multiplied into a web of deceit and pain that threatened to consume everyone involved, and as the second day of the crisis dawned, it was clear that the drama was far from over, with even bigger twists waiting just around the corner. As the second day of the crisis dawned, it was clear that the drama was far from over, with even bigger twists waiting just around the corner. Kirk Frost woke up to a barrage of missed calls and messages from industry insiders and media outlets, all clamoring for comments on the alleged $500 million theft by Rasheeda Frost. He felt a fresh wave of anger mixed with exhaustion as he realized the story had now gone fully public, with headlines screaming across every gossip site and social media platform. Fans were divided into fierce camps, some defending Rasheeda as a woman who had finally taken control after years of supporting Kirk Frost through thick and thin, while others branded her a calculated opportunist who had waited for the perfect moment during his Puerto Rico trip.